So moving on, Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada 5, international belt versus continental belt for the AEW Unified belt. I'm about to preface everything I say with I think this is a 4.5 star match. Now, I am about to sound ungrateful and I'm about to sound not maybe excited about it. People, if they liked it or anything. I think this is by far the worst Okada Omega match by a comfortable margin. And I'm not going to be backed off of that corner, that post, and just saying, what do you expect? They are X amount of years older. It doesn't exactly fly with me when I see Kenny Omega go out there with Gabe Kidd like that. It doesn't fly with me when Kazuchika Okada can go out there with Will Ospreay and Speedball Mike Bailey. These two on the night, I feel like, did not have it with each other to that legendary level that they once had. They decided to Don Callis this thing up at the end of the match. A lot of, the Rocky Romero run-ins. I did not appreciate that. I thought it was just disrespectful to the legacy of this match. I thought the build that built this match up made Kenny Omega look like shit. And then when you combine it with the finish, it really makes him look like shit. It felt like he was winning. But, I think we all figured in regular Okada Omega, in the feud, Okada was due to win the next one, like in Madison Square Garden or whatever it would have happened, right? I was kind of unsure of who would actually win by the time this came, but for me, the finish was abrupt, came out of nowhere. This was a lot of work on the diverticulitis. It was too much. It was almost like what I feared, like as far as like what Kenny would lean into. And I know people are trying to say, oh, this is old man, physical guile style wrestling. It's like, no, bro, he doesn't need to actually do that. Like I've seen this man like still go the laser light show. And I know these guys have earned the right to tell the stories they want to tell at this point. But when I look at it as Okada Omega, those 4 matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling kind of meant something else, and what they did here deflated. I felt like the crowd was stunned at what happened. That was all around us. The young boy Josh Smith, an emotional man sometimes about pro wrestling, left the stadium after this match and was disappointed. I was disappointed as well, just because it seemed like the finish kind of came out of nowhere. Like they didn't build it up. They never got to the level where I felt like it was like, oh, we're seeing just some incredible shit. They did a few callbacks to the match, like with the dragon suplex on the top rope, the drop kick that Kenny did to the back of Okada's head. I vividly recall that happening in the first match. But I was happy to see these guys in the ring. I was happy to be there for the match. I thought the entrances were great. It felt like we were about to see something classic. Ibushi was out there, and then for me, they just didn't. They didn't get to that level, and I think they took the coward's way out with this thing. 4.5.
I think it's about the most disappointing 4.5 star match I think I've ever seen. Now, what's funny was after the show, walking along with Leah, she was like, "It's a great match," and I was like, "It was." But you don't understand. I was like, one in 4, the 2 best matches I've ever seen in my life. Right? So for me, I was disappointed. But then I started thinking to myself, the way that the part where like this actually is like, as you mentioned, it's disrespectful to the legacy of the first 4 matches, as far as the interference and run-ins and the bullshit and Callus getting
Look,
physically involved in all of it. And I
yeah,
thought to myself,
and I'm not saying, look, the second one we know it had the shit with Cody, but for me, that never, like they were able to outdo that. They were not able to outdo this.
but that was like, I'm thinking I'm going to throw in the towel, right?
Yeah, they never physically got
That's not the same
involved.
thing as people running in.
Yeah,
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing.
before somebody brings it up,
I don't know if
I just
anyone
mentioned
like
that.
debated that. But, okay, gotcha. That's not the same thing as actual physical interference. And Callus, punching Omega and shit. Like, so for me, like seeing all that shit was going, it was like, and then Okada wins in that way. I was like, oh, they're doing another match. Forget the part where they said this is the last match. They're doing this again because like they disrespected they're pissing you off by giving you a lesser match than what you're expecting. they have the interference. They have him. They have it out for him to do it. And then in the press conference afterwards, they say, "Oh yeah, this was a combined continental and international rules match. We're going forward. We will be using the continental rules where I will fire anyone that interferes at ringside." What does that make
Yeah.
you think is going to happen? It makes you think, okay, there at some point they're going to wrestle each other again, and there will be no bullshit around. You're going to get the actual match. Now, should they have done that here in this spot, given it like this is 30,000 or damn near 25 to 30,000 people? I wouldn't have done that. But for a lot of people, this is a what do you call it? This is a legacy series that has been brought over from the Orient, from Japan. So people don't. A lot of people that are AEW only fans that have no AEW and only fans put together sounds funny, but that like have only the lore and the snobby first New Japan first brought over to AEW fans like us that are disappointed in this, they might roll their eyes and be like, what, they might roll their eyes at this and be like, you know what, I don't know, I enjoyed the match and whatever else. But now you're going forward, you're not going to be, if they do a six match, no one's going to be like, no, cancel, never do it again. This wasn't one final heartbeat between Gargano and Ciampa.
Right.
Not at
It,
all.
it didn't get to
This
that
was,
level, but it was
this is,
like it was like these guys are good enough to beat the stigma of importing the feud from Japan and doing it in America all and it's lesser. Like you just kind of naturally expect that, but these guys are good enough to do it. But I saw the shape that Kazuchika Okada was in. I saw what Kenny Omega looked like walking to the ring. These guys are not fat. These guys do not look past a day past their prime. Like it just didn't ring off like that. And it was like, damn, it was so much work on the gut, and it was just like so much selling for
right.
Kenny, and then it was just like,
It
stand
seems,
up, let's get to it.
it seems, it seems like it was completely intentional, and they absolutely were not trying to give us their best match. So for me, after that, the interference, the all that stuff, and then afterwards you get the press conference where Tony Khan says that. To me, it's like, okay, this is the starting point to do Okada Omega again in America. So we're going to piss people off, and we're going to even the series up. And now it's 2-2-1, and we can do one last match
Bro.
if they don't want to have one more match. But then actually really do the match. Now that we have kind of the rules, and I will fire whoever else is ringside. So I think they'll do. I think there's going to be another match. Where, when, I don't know, but I think there will be another match in AEW between those two.
And it's like, did they kill the appetite for another match for it? I think that's a fair question to ask.
I don't. I think that you giving away a match that's still 4.5 stars means that you'll still want to see it again. And there's all interference involved in it. Like it's one of those where it's like it's like the interference that leads to a cage match type of situation. They're going that route. Now I don't think they're going to be doing this this year. I think they'll get to it next year or whatever.
This makes me like all the concerns that I had about this match is like, all right, think about the match, the way they set this shit up. They were in December, bringing Kenny Omega back in a suit. The inconsistent presentation all throughout this cannot be what was laid out on paper, and they didn't change anything from start to finish. Like, this feels like I just don't
There's
know.
been changes. There's been changes left and right. Where's the Young Bucks involvement?
It's like the Young Bucks barely being involved in this thing at all. Like,
Why is Callis with Okada when Okada and Takeshita have smoke and they've yet to do that match? Yeah, these things have been changed over time.
like this,
Yes, Rich.
like this shit.
Not only am I agree with you, like I think it's kind of obvious.
So like, just seeing it all back, and it's just like they did 7 months on and off to do a preview match. Like, what if like these like we saw how long
But if someone got hurt,
exactly, we saw how long it took to get this match in the ring. We saw like there
it took
is
over
no
a year. It took over a year. They wanted to do it all in London last year.
like there is no tomorrow on this shit. It's like, why the fuck are we wasting like opportunities to let niggas go out there and and score 50. Like, we want to just like, oh, we gonna push it down the road. It's like, you shouldn't have booked it. Like, that's where I'm at with it. Like, I'm like, if you was gonna do this, I would have rather we just left, the 4, right there, and then get Kenny Omega against, new people, just like I called for a couple months ago. I feel like I want to see him wrestle new people. Like, they don't properly want to do the story they did, the video package, which I liked. I don't even know if really that was enough, because it's like they had to Don Callis this entire thing up. It just seems like it wasn't made for this, and I kind of at this point would have preferred them to leave it where they did. And this has nothing to do with the finish. I feel like people were stunned in the building. Like, there was a reaction similar to like when the Undertaker lost at WrestleMania. It was like, hold on, what? Like, that was it? Like, the whole section was like just going nuts. It was like this. They were going nuts for Kenny. Like, this was like a Kenny Omega crowd. I'll say that. And it was
I always thought that Omega was winning. I always thought. I'm sorry. I always thought. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I always thought that Okada was winning this, because otherwise there's no point in continuing if you're going to continue.
Yeah.
And then you look at back and be like, okay, so like this whole story was about Omega climbing this mountain, and ultimately like he kicked the mountain's ass. Okay. You went 3-1-1 against the mountain. One much of a mountain. So yeah, but I'm with you. I was disappointed in the match, but I'm not going to pretend like the match wasn't an awesome match. It just wasn't the most awesome match I've ever seen, because they've done that to me twice. I gotta be real. Like, they've done it to me twice. So my expectations definitely influence how I feel about the match.
It's like, fuck competing with the previous 4 matches. Could you even like? Are you even competing with the 3 best matches on this show? Like, no. Like, it's like, what happened here? It's like, I would have never bet on this being the case. I don't know. I guess I'm just like a little bit,
especially after we just saw him have a 4-star match with Kota Ibushi.
Right. It felt like he was like, willing himself up, like, to like, and the thing was, I don't think they were necessarily wrestling badly or anything like that, but they were like,
right.
There was a clear intent, like, in Kenny Omega's overdoing the diverticulitis selling to where it's like, where we're like, when I said I was gonna nitpick all the shit they do with him because the presentation feels fucked, like, they are not letting him like be the explosive ass kicker that so many of us want to see. They're like, hobble around and whatever. Like, it's, I don't know what the fuck, like, if it is Kenny Omega coming up with this himself, if this is like a collaborative, long term kind of thing or whatever, but Kenny Omega has people that are going to live and die with him, right? As a wrestler, as a babyface, whatever. But this is I question this heavily, like, as far as this strategy to, unless like this whole thing was just to enhance Kazuchika Okada, which, if you look at it, who would the win do more for? It's clearly Okada. This is the biggest win that he's got in the promotion, I would imagine. And it was like, okay, like, is it a case of where maybe Kenny Omega's interviews are a little bit more real than we'd like to think when he talks about not having much time left, which I think he's working when he says that, a lot of that stuff. And it's like, if you're going to count on Kazuchika Okada to be an asset for you for the future, yeah, you give him this win over Kenny. Like, I get it from that standpoint. But I guess I just did not, I was so deflated. I felt like much of the crowd around me was too. And it took a while to even drop into the main event after this. And then after the show, I was still thinking about Okada Omega after the show.
Maybe it's because I just figured Okada was going to win, that like it didn't hit me that way. Outside of being disappointed, being like, I thought this was going to be a better match. But my mind immediately went to, there has to be a rematch. There's no way they're ending it like that.
But
so
after that,
so we get to the main event.
AEW World Title match.